All right, all right. Hope you're listening to the background. Um, I got my boy Compiler from Chicago. He was opening up for a DJ here at this place called Soundbar, and oh, and I decided to go ahead and play his opening set. So that's what you're gonna be hearing in the background while I'm conducting this Monday rant and discussion. Now, DJs like a compiler and all the DJs worldwide, they didn't become these great artists overnight. They had to start somewhere. There's always a beginning with anything that you do. A shot put don't automatically become a shot put. A track runner doesn't automatically become a track runner. There is a starting gate when it comes to that. A starting apparatus, so to speak. You have to know your fundamentals before you're able to do the things that you do. And that's no different than becoming a DJ. You have to know your fundamentals. And what I have been seeing, especially on these live DJ platform spaces, that yes, they have the equipment and they have the live feed and they probably have the followers and things of that nature. But what they don't have is the fundamentals. Why? Because I'm hearing too many errors, too many mistakes, too many. Now, there are things that's beyond your control, especially when it comes to live streaming. Like if OBS decides to cut off, or unfortunately, if your whole area where you're doing your live stream power comes out, or there's a disconnection with the internet. Those things that you can't control. But when it comes to DJing and knowing your fundamentals, you can control that. And I'm seeing too many DJs being lackadaisical when it comes to that. And it's not a good look, especially in the whole scheme of this thing that we do as DJs. So we're going to discuss that. So let me get to it. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, everyone. This is House Head Speaks, coming to you live from the Chi-Town, Chicago, and you are tuned in to Monday Rant and Discussion. And as I was mentioning in the intro, and what you see on top, what I'm trying to get at is there is no substitution for the fundamentals of learning how to DJ. Now, when I started in 2017, fundamentals of DJing was grilled to my brain. Okay, it didn't matter if I was learning the nuances on YouTube, or if I had a fellow DJ that was showing me the ropes in person. Fundamentals was the key. And I'm looking at things and I'm noticing that this is becoming a lost art. I'm noticing that, especially, like I said, especially in these live stream spaces, you have DJs out there that are not taking this seriously. It's all about the clicks, the views, the subs, and making the money and getting the notoriety and all that jazz. That's fine and dandy. But if you don't know your fundamentals in DJing, chances are you are going to get exposed. And especially if you're planning on playing outside of live stream, that's where that's where the real world is staring at your face. That's when you play in front of a live audience, they're going to look at you, they're going to size you up, and they are going to pinpoint your nuances, your mannerisms, and they're also going to pinpoint your mistakes. They're going to hear it and they're going to see it. So we are going to take a dive on the reason why you should never disregard, discredit, and substitute when it comes to DJ fundamentals. So let's get to the presentation. Okay, the question is there a substitute for DJ fundamentals? I have a quick answer for that. The answer is no. Trust me, without fundamentals, I wouldn't be standing here on this live stream letting you guys know about my nuances of DJing. You know, without the fundamentals, I wouldn't even have another show where I literally show how I approach transitions to different genres of our house music and underground music. Without the fundamentals, I wouldn't have the opportunity to play not only here where I live, but outside where I live. And most of the time, when I play outside, I play outside of the country. That would not be possible if it wasn't for me knowing the fundamentals of DJing. So if anyone asks if there's a substitute for the actual bare bones fundamentals of DJ, that's a flat out no. And we're going to get to it. So let's go. Like I said, the short answer is absolutely not. Because there is no substitute for DJ fundamentals. Plain and simple. If anyone tries to argue with that, shut them down. If they try to persuade you there's another way of DJing without the use of fundamentals, give them a side eye. If they say that, well, I went this route and I didn't have to, it wasn't necessary for me to learn the fundamentals of DJing. Tell them, are you sure about that? Okay. Because technology, it only assists us as DJs, but it will never replace the core skills that makes us effective. And that's the truth. I mean, there is no two ways about that. Fundamentals are the foundation. And I'm going to say this again. Fundamentals are the foundation on which everything else is built. Period. Without the fundamentals, you can't progress to the other things. Okay? Without learning how to beat match, you can't do transitions. You can't do long blends. You won't be able to drop it on the one. You won't be able to do EQ swapping. You won't be able to do your transitions using either the up faders or the cross fader. You won't be able to know what music that will coincide with what as far as your track selection is concerned. You will not know none of these things without the fundamentals. They are that important. So for anybody to shy away from that, They are doing a disservice to themselves, and they are doing a disservice to all of us as DJs as a whole. I want to make that clear. Next slide. Fundamentals trains your ear. I say again, fundamentals trains your ear. That's why when we say learning to beat match by ear, that is the cornerstone of learning how to DJ. Is to beat match by ear. And you also have, and that's the first thing when it says core skills, beat matching. That's the first thing. That is number one. You should not go past anything else if you don't have beat matching down pat to where you can take two tracks, blend them together, in time and beat without them going off kill, a la train wrecking. Okay, phrase matching with understanding song structure. That's why you have to know your beats, bars, and your phrasings, and you also have to listen to the structure of the track. Okay, because you want to know when and where you can drop it on the one. Do you drop it on one before the bass line or the breakdown, or do you drop it after? Now, my opinion, I always drop it after a breakdown or bass line. I always drop it after, but I always make sure I drop it at that one. Because remember, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, one. That's when you drop it. You won't know that unless you have understood, because that's one of the core fundamentals. EQ control. You won't know how to do the EQing until you know about the other things that's above. And gain staging. You have to know how to work your gains. That means you have to control your volume. That can be, as far as your trim, also as far as the booth, anything that has to do with volume, you have to know how to control that. Because unfortunately, certain tracks can be louder than others. Certain tracks can be lower than others. You have to listen in to know the difference, because one track you may have to hyphen up the trim, especially if it's a lower track, if it's a lower volume. If it's a higher volume, you're going to have to lower the trim, because you want to make sure that those tracks are still they're in sync as far as volume is concerned. That's important as well. Train your ear, musical, instinct. Training your ear. Like I said, I think the last time I said this in transitions, I'll say it here. There's two ways that you can practice. Two methods, I say, that you can practice when it comes to training with your ear. One of the methods is making sure that you play two tracks at the same time, but you cover the BPM. And once you play those at the same time, then you start working on the pitch, and also working on the jog wheels. That's going to train your ear as to what to listen to. And of course, what you're listening to is a smooth flow. You're listening to both tracks sounding as one in time and in key. That's what you're listening for. Okay? Now, so I think that's probably all I'm going to say on this. But no, I'm going to go ahead and move the other one up. I know that's in the way. I'm going to go ahead and move that up so I can make sure that's That's said. Okay. Okay. Train your ear and music distinct. I mentioned that. Okay. Now, because even if software can't sync tracks automatically, which you should not be doing when you're learning how to DJ, the sync button should not be nowhere in your vocabulary. You should look at it and bypass it because that is not going to help you. I promise you. Okay? A DJ who understands phrasing and groove will always mix more natural than someone relying on only on technology. Translation: a DJ who relies only on the equipment itself using the sync button, yes, I'm gonna say, you ride that sucker till the wheels go off, then you won't know the core joy, the core nature of what it is to know how to do beat matching and the other fundamentals that's listed here that you see. Okay? Okay. Next one. Because technology can fail. Trust and believe. Technology can fail. Okay. Auto syncs, AI tools, and visual waveforms are helpful. And I am a witness to that. I use the combination of beat matching by ear as well as looking out for the waveforms. So I use both. Okay, they are helpful, but they depend on accurate beat grids, stable hardware software, correct track analysis. That means these three has to be working, has to be functional. Again, accurate beat grids, stable hardware software, correct track analysis has to be working and has to be in function. Because if something goes wrong, DJs without fundamentals often freeze because they don't know how to correct the problem manually. And trust and believe, I have seen this happen. I have seen DJs literally panic when whatever they're using, whatever they were relying on, did not work for them. Then that's when you know they are exposed. And I'm not here to throw any shade or throw any salt on any DJ. Period. But what I will say is, if you are upcoming and established, those errors that like the free, like those errors that we're talking about that I'm mentioning, they should be as minimum as possible. And you should be able to detect them from the first jump. Okay? Because again, I'm going to say this again. If something goes wrong, DJs without fundamentals often freeze because they don't know how to correct the problem manually. Fundamentals gives you control rather than dependence. And trust, there are too many DJs out there are depending too much on technology. I know it because I've seen it. And I can tell. Okay? Now, me on a personal level, I have the experience and the honor of knowing how to play pro DJ gear, like the ones that are in the clubs. I once played on a rotary mixer for the first time, and it wasn't the new one that's out there from Pioneer and other places. This was like an old school one, and I had a great time. Yeah, it was a lot to get used to, but once I got a hand on it and learned the nuances of how to use it, I was fine. And that's why you have to know your DJ fundamentals, because no matter what gear and what situation that arrives, you should have the confidence and wherewithal to say, I can play that. I can play on that. No problem. Let's go. Just show me what I need to know as far as the nuances, and I'll take it from there. And I might stumble a bit. I might make a few errors or whatever. But as long as I know my fundamentals, it will always, I will always be able to get ahead of the game. Next slidey died. Reading the dance floor is a fundamental. I'm going to say that again. Reading the dance floor is a fundamental. And not too many DJs or not too many people say that. But it is true. Okay? One of the biggest DJ skills has nothing to do with equipment. And it doesn't. Okay? Especially if you played enough. Especially if you're one of these big name DJs who plays out all the time, because that's what they do for a living. They will tell you that one of their fundamental skills is the dance floor, is playing for a crowd. Why? Look at the things you have to take in account. Crowd reading, energy control, track selection, timing, when to switch styles. Now, crowd reading, you have to know you have to read the crowd. One of the things that I always advise DJs, when you are signed to a gig, go there early. No matter where you are as far as the set time. Go early. Check out the DJs that's playing before you. Check out the crowd around it. See what they're feeling at. Because you don't want to take away from the energy, you want to add to it. And if you know what's going on as far as what other DJs are playing, you want to be, when you go on, you know what to play to add to that energy. And try to bring that energy even higher. Because you don't want to be the DJ that goes up and you playing something and you're lowering the energy and you're bringing the energy down, or you're clearing the dance floor. That is the worst thing that could ever happen to a DJ. You got a DJ before you banging it out, playing some good tunes, got the crowd going, the energy's up like that, and then you go up there and you play a couple of tracks and the crowd's looking at you and they're gone. Clear the dance floor. I done seen big name DJs done that. Clear the dance floor. And I always tell people this, and I'm gonna tell it here. Once you clear the dance floor, you can't get it back. Period. It's so hard to do. So you have to know your crowd energy control. You have to control the energy within that particular night. And it also depends on where you are in the lineup. That's why 9 times out of 10, when I'm in a DJ lineup, I like to be the first DJ to play. I like to be the warmer. I like to warm things up, set the tone. So especially when the other DJs that's coming after me see what I'm bringing, that's when they know that since I set the table, they know they're going to have to bring the fine china, the fine eating ware, silverware. Got to make sure that the appetizers is on point. You got to make sure the main course is there, and of course, when you're in, you got to make sure you have the dessert. That's how that's supposed to work. Track selection. Oh, that is so key. If you don't have the correct track selection, then you already lost the game, period. And timing when to switch styles. That means if you feel within your soul that crowd is not feeling what you're playing, switch right there. Switch to another genre. You might be playing a deep house track and the crowd might not feel it. Switch to a sofa track. One that's more energized and get the crowd back into it. Okay? Because no algorithm or feature can truly replace the human intuition behind. And that's true. That is absolutely true. Okay? Next slide. Creativity comes from understanding the basics. You can't be creative without knowing the basics. So you have to. That's why the fundamentals is so paramount. Okay? Because once fundamentals are mastered, then you can push the other boundaries. Then you can then you can start learning how to do loops. You can learn the effects, stems if you have if you're into stems, live remixing, layer tracks, you know, I'll say blending. That's what I'll say. I'll say blending. Because without fundamentals, these tools often becomes gimmicks instead of musical tools. And with knowing how to do the fundamentals, you will know when to use these extra tools. Because personally, when I play out, I may use the loops once or twice, probably do some effects maybe once or twice. I don't do too many of those. Why? I want the music to shine through. I want those tracks that I select to shine through. I want the audience to enjoy when I'm playing. And sometimes when you're doing too many effects and tricks and all that, it takes away from the actual essence of the music. But you won't know how to do none of these unless you know the fundamentals. Okay. Next slide. Because great DJs still use fundamentals. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this, even the DJs, even your top-notch DJs, still rely on fundamentals. They have to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be top-notch DJs. Your big-name DJs, the ones that you go see at festivals, at clubs and venues, at events, those DJs, they have to start somewhere. Which means they learn their craft through knowing the fundamentals. Because even with the modern gear, and trust me, DJ gear changes all the time. There's always something fresh and new coming out. There's always a new toy. Always. We as DJs, we're aware of that. Okay? But DJs are respected still beat matched by ear. Still mix without the sync button. Still recover from mistakes quickly. The true DJs, the true master DJs that's out there know how to do those things. And I'm not going to say master DJs. I'm going to say DJs who have learned, understand, and took in the information when it came to knowing the fundamentals, they have the ability to make sure that they learn these three things that I just mentioned. Beat match by ear, mix without sync, recover from mistakes quickly, especially the last one. Because you have to know how, once you know there's mistake arise, you have to be able to be quick on the draw. You have to know how to, recover and keep it moving. And if you don't know the fundamentals, you won't know how to do that. And you'll probably freeze, panic, or whatever the case may be, and then that's when you get exposed. Because like I said, I have seen DJs even live, even on, even live stream or live had that problem. Because technology enhances their workflow, but the skills isn't dependent on it. Okay, now I use tech, and I use the gear to do what I need to do and to enhance what I do. But when it comes down to bare bones, it's my skills that counts. Why? Because I took the time to learn the fundamentals of DJing. I did not squander it. I did not push it aside. I did not take it for granted. I took it seriously. Why? Because it is serious. And I'm getting sick and tired of seeing some of these DJs who call themselves DJs not taking learning the fundamentals seriously. Because look, you can look cute online, you can look cute live stream all you want. But if you keep train wrecking and keep messing up and you keep exposing yourself, you look bad. That's what you look. You look bad and you look like an amateur. You look like you only learned how to DJ day 1 instead of day 365. Next slide. Okay. A better way to look at this. Let me make sure I put this down. Sorry. Here we go. Better way to look at this. Technology can assist with DJ fundamentals, but it cannot substitute it. That means, yeah, you have the technology to do what you need to do as a DJ. But if you don't have the fundamentals, that technology is not going to help you at all. If anything, it's going to hurt you because it's going to let you down. And then what you're going to do? When something happens and that sync button doesn't work, or something happens and you end up, in your beat match, you just end up going off, and you don't have the capability to recover. If something happens when the crowd's not feeling your music, and you don't have the capability of reading the crowd or changing or being able to switch to a different genre to get that energy back before you lose that dance floor, then what? You're going to blame technology for it? And I just heard DJs done that. Blame technology, blame the crowd, blame everything, but they didn't. What they should have blamed is the person in the mirror. That's who they should blame. Because you didn't take the time to learn the fundamentals. And now you're exposed. You all are open, naked. I think this is the end of my slide. I think so. Yes, it is. So we're going to go ahead and go back here. I know I went off on a little tangent. you know. But this is Monday Rant and Discussion. So sometimes it'll be a discussion, sometimes it'll be a rant, and sometimes it'll be a combination of both. It always depends on the subject matter and the passion of it. And I am very passionate when it comes to this subject matter because, like I said, when I learned how to DJ in 2017, I told no one. And I learned for a whole year before anyone got the whiff of knowing that I decided to become a DJ. Why? Because I took the time to learn the fundamentals, because I was serious about it, because I wanted to learn this craft. So, I hope you guys got the gist of what I'm trying to bring to you. I hope, I wasn't a little too, struck a little nerve. If I did, that's too bad. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Because this needs to be said. Because I'm seeing too much of amateur hour going on, and it needs to stop. Because if it gets too much, or it gets too big, and if it goes too far, then it's going to make other DJs who took the time to learn it the right way, they're going to eyeball us like they eyeball the ones who took the shortcut. And I do not want to be eyeballed like that. Because again, I take this seriously. So, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell when you know I'll be doing another Monday Rant and Discussion. Until the next one, this is House Says Speaks coming to you live from the Chi-Town, Chicago. Wishing everyone a happy, safe, and productive work week. And as always, peace and love.